Assistant City Clerk sent us a request to bring a group of kids in. And I think that'd be a really good idea. That would mean probably we'd have to meet maybe at 3 o'clock on the 6th rather than at 3:30. I think, is that way structured, still 3:30 for the police?
Well, it's, next council meeting is different in that we scheduled your work session to be the meet and greet with the police chief. I will be busy, Jen will be busy, and Steve will be busy. So if you guys want to do this, I can torture someone else on senior staff. I was thinking Matt because he's in Nebraska. And, we can start, you guys can do a work session at 2:30 with Catherine and Matt to talk to kids. Like, I don't think you need Carl, I don't think you need me.
I agree. I just think it's a good thing to bring the young people to government. And while I've talked about that, I just mentioned the middle school robotics club came over and made a presentation to Deborah and I, and Jessica and Tim, the other engineer that was in the room? It was Jessica and Ryan. Sorry, bad with names. And it was really an interesting thing. And they made a presentation because they won. The Clovis Springs Middle School won the regional tournament, and they're going on to state, and they wanted to practice with some people, and they had a great idea about having shoes and electric. But anyway, I just think it's a good thing that we reach out to the young people, and as you all know, I'm invested in young people and doing things, so.
Great, thanks, Charlie. Rick?
I think I just need, yes or no on that.
Yes,
Yeah, so
2:30?
yes, anytime.
what time do we need to be at the community center for the police chief?
4:30.
Well, 2:30 is plenty of time then.
Yeah.
2:30 is a long time.
They had to leave at 3.
Okay.
So that's
So
why it's
2?
2:30.
No, wait.
We could do 2, and then we could go back and do whatever we want. Would you guys-
Wednesday?
Thursday.
Is that
the
okay,
next
Charlie,
council meeting.
2?
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
2 is fine.
2 to
Okay,
2:30?
so 2 to 3, a work session just on
Kids.
kids, no going through the agenda, none of that.
Well, we
Just
can
talk to the
show
kids.
them what we do.
I think an hour is a long time to.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think 45 minutes ought to do it,
Yeah, I would
or
think.
half an hour.
Half hour. Yeah, let's do a half hour. Consensus. How many people for 45 minutes? Great. How many for half hour?
I'd lose again.
I think half hour would be plenty.
Okay. 2
But
to
I'm the only
2:30
one
with
here who
kids.
likes children.
2 to 2:30 with the kids, and
Okay.
then we'll convene back at the rec center at 4 o'clock.
4:30 is when it starts, but
Or
you
30.
can show up at 4.
I'll do some squats.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Rick?
I know you'll probably want to cover this too, Mayor Godus, but I want to say that Saturday event that we had was terrific. I'm sure that other councilors would probably agree with that and probably will state that, but I want to thank the staff and at the community center, the staff that helped organize it, sort of behind the scenes. It was just a terrifically sequenced event, and I thought very effective.
Thank you. Sean?
I just wanted to update the council on a couple of things. We had Arts and Culture Board this week on Monday night, and they actually had we had a conversation with the consultant that's being hired to bring forth a public art plan. So the board is very excited about that, and sounds like we're going to have a good process. It'll include, they're going to come here and do a tour, include public outreach, public meetings, and come up with a good plan on how we want to do public art throughout the city, what that looks like, what kind of tone it takes, how we involve local artists, and all of that. So I'm very excited about that plan, and that will likely be kicking off in January, I think. And then we also had a great work session with Housing Commission and P&Z, and we're talking about just ways to increase workforce housing throughout the city and other types of housing, family housing, senior housing. How do we get that done? What's some of the low-hanging fruit? Or how do we get a small project going, at least to test out some of our ideas? So we're excited about that and moving that forward.
Thank you.
That's great.
Tony?
Well, just real quick, you weren't here, Mr. Mayor, but I mentioned the Blake Gate during my comments, and I did The city manager's going to look into adding that to the agenda at some point.
Okay,
Okay.
wonderful. Paula?
Just a quick note, I was at an AGNC meeting yesterday, and apparently what they are doing is passing around a veterans parking sign where they go from community to community and go, okay, it's on you guys now to set up some veterans parking spots in town. Just wanted to find out if we're doing that in case that lands in my lap in February, and if that's something we can do to honor our vets.
I think we did, I'm trying, and this could be wrong.
Right.
I think like 2 years ago, Walmart took 2 and Safeway took 2. Obviously, the ones in Safeway are not currently being used, but we have done it before.
Okay.
And essentially, it was just us reaching out to businesses and saying, do you want them? So
Okay.
totally
So if it comes back again,
open to
Is the
it.
council open to having a few of those around town and honoring our vets with parking spaces at
Well, we
business?
put it that way.
They're not like enforceable, but
Right.
I mean, people
It's
put them
honorary.
up and, yeah.
I mean, I think we can encourage businesses around town and make them available. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be supportive.
If it ends up in my lap, I just want to go, oh, yeah, we'd love to take a look at this.
We'd love to
Because
take a
they're
look at
passing it
apparently
community to
anything.
community.
I am slightly pro-veteran.
Just slightly. Okay, good to know.
Thanks, Paula.
Yeah, and as Shelley said, we had a great meeting with Housing Commission and Planning and Zoning, and I felt like they were very just interactive and they're ready to go, and it's just pretty exciting to see that they feel like there's some opportunities that they can work on, and I felt that was really good. So,
Awesome. Thank you. I have a couple things. I just wanted to give a real big thank you to everybody, echoing Rick's comment that from the citizens that participated. I also really wanted to thank ourselves, thank City Council as well as staff for helping make that day really impactful. We're all doing a lot of extra work for this, and I think this whole shebang and the Don't Strip Glenwood of its future are really important things. We've been featured because we've had some really great publicity and great publicists that we've been working with. We've been featured in the Denver Post. We've had an editorial in the Denver Post, the Colorado Sun. We had spent 3 hours a day with Colorado Public Radio. We're going to be doing more things with Aspen Public Radio, KD&K, Tricolores, News Channel 1174. I don't even know where all those places exactly are, if they're out of Grand Junction or Denver, and probably a host of several other ones that I don't know. But it feels like we have we're starting to feel a little bit like we're on the offensive, and it starts to feel good. So thank you, everybody, for continuing to keep this in the forefront and recognizing what a fight this is going to be for us. I've had a couple comments in my neighborhood about the leaf pickup site being closed. A little bit, sorry, I thought you were pressing your thing to jump in. The leaf pickup site closing down. The perception is that it's closing down early, or that it closed down early this year. I've been told that it actually closed down a week later, and we had a really, I think, unique year with a late spring and a weird fall. I still have trees that have leaves on it and a yard full of a dozen bags of leaves. I don't think it's a problem for many folks in town to go to the South Canyon landfill, which is still open, still accepting leaves for free. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's mostly folks in my neighborhood who like the convenience of having it right there. But I think for most of the other people in town, going to the South Canyon landfill is not that much more difficult than going to our area. And the reason why it eventually has to close down is we have to retrofit the but the machinery for snow removal. So it's a balance. You know, we can get, as we've seen, we can get snow early in November. We need to be prepared for it, even at the expense of some people's convenience.
Jonathan, on the way to the landfill, can you pick up my leaves at my house, please?
I don't have a pickup truck.
Oh, I thought you had to go to the landfill.
No.
No.
Jonathan, just to add, because I had a comment on that too, and I apologize to interrupt, but I had a comment on that too, and we did have a discussion about it, and really, I agree with you, we can't do it from a long-term, the winter planning and things like that. And I know that Matt has made a big effort to try to get a lot of communication out, and we talked maybe even having signs that say leaf drop off here from this date to this date instead of just the arrow. I mean, that might be something we could add so everybody knows there's a deadline on it. Even though it's well publicized, the signs are probably the best way to do it. I thought of that the way I talked about it earlier in the week, so.
Yeah, I mean, I missed the deadline because I just wait till all my leaves fall 100% and then rake them up. And haven't all done that.
I've been out there twice, dropping off leaves, and there's still more on the ground. So another thing we can tell people too is mulch the leaves if they lawn mow them in. That's
Yeah.
another way to take care of that problem.
And Tony and Jonathan, I have a truck that I will be happy.
you come by?
I'd be happy to rent to both of you.
Rent.
Jeez. All right.
Does it come with a worker helper like you?
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other council comments?
We do have a letter in front of us. Are we, and it's not on the agenda, are we bringing that up during the meeting?
From coming out, going correspondence.
Yes.
again.
We are?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank
With
you.
Mr. Harvey, that one?
Okay, that was my question. Great, thank you.
All right. Next item, the consent agenda. Can I have a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Wait, hold on. Can you do that with
Oh.
an amendment to item 15,
sorry.
that the approval of the management contract amendment did not waive any claims we have against that company?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
The motion
forgot-
was inappropriately.
I forgot that, Charlie.
Thank you.
So I would make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right. It's been motioned by Tony, seconded by Paula. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Sorry, nobody talk about it, no, just.
No, thank you, Charlie, for
I'll do
that.
Sorry about that.
All right. Item 7, landfill composting update.
Evening.
Evening.
Hey, King.
Hi, King.
So, I'm a stand-in for Matt, and you guys have the staff report there, and it was pretty complete. We've had a real good year with compost sales and our blended soil sales. We actually at one point sold out of compost this summer, but we were in the process of screening more, and so we didn't lose any customers due to not having any product. But we actually, I don't have I only have reports up to August, but by between March and August, we'd sold $27,000 worth of compost and $26,000 worth of blended soil. So we had two big contracts in the area that took a lot of compost. There was one up at Colorado Mountain College, and then Hot Springs School used something there, re-veg around their new water feature
Great.
there. So that was good. Volumes are up over previous year in waste, as well as in liquids, which go good with our rate increase, helps the cash flow. I've got an outstanding crew working with me. The landfill looks good. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer, I guess.
How good does the landfill look, King? What was the last inspection like?
The last inspection was the first clear inspection that the landfill has had since I started there in December of 2011.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, it felt pretty good.
King, I have one question. In the report, talked about, we went out for bids and those bids didn't work. They didn't meet criteria, et
On
cetera.
the compost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that we're going to kind of try to expand it in-house by adding an employee. Is there, and maybe that's where I just got lost track. Maybe you could just explain what the plan is.
Sure. The compost, pretty much since I've been there, has kind of been a stepchild to the operation. The contractor that was doing it for us was actually attempted to do away with the compost operation in lieu of another process to get rid of liquids that we take in, and that experiment failed, and so we had to keep the compost going, which they really didn't enjoy. And so, we did make compost. We do have a very, very basic process that we use, but it can be improved on, and I've been working to do that. The State Department of Health has issued a compliance advisory to us that we need to have our system improved and up to the current codes by December 2020. So it'll be an easier process to run, but quite honestly, our volumes of liquids and compostable material have really picked up, and we're having a very hard time keeping up with it. And a lot of it is because we don't have a dedicated person to that operation. So there's, as increased volumes come in, we make more compost, there's more record keeping that needs to be done, more compliance monitoring, that sort of thing. And it's just, it's a pretty time consuming process. So it would be very beneficial and probably make us have even a better product than what we have now with a person that was focused on compost.
Will that expand the area of it, or the volume,
It
maybe
will
the
be a
volume of it?
larger area.
Pardon?
Yeah, it'll be probably about 3 times the size of what we're operating now.
Okay. So it sounds like it might pay for itself or more.
I'm sorry.
It might pay for itself or more.
Well, that'd be great.
Yeah.
At the very least, with the volumes of material that we're dealing with, that we're saving airspace in the landfill.
Yeah,
So that's of value as well.
I agree. Thanks.
Paula?
Hi, King. I'm Paul. We've tentatively talked about maybe in 2020 we'd be looking at a single hauler system. And do you have any feedback or feel on adding a compost trash can to that kind of around town, where that became part of not only recycling but a compost trash can, and how would that affect the landfill, and would that require even more employees? Just to get a sense of what that means.
Well, not knowing for sure, what kind of participation there might be,
Right.
with curbside,
I'm looking right at that street light.
food waste pickup, that sort of thing.
Eagle of the-
It's kind of hard to really
Pins in.
predict, but, just offhand, I think, the introduction of that material to the compost would enhance the product that we're making, for sure.
Okay.
The introduction of more carbon nitrogen to the mix would speed up the curing process some and make a good product.
Would that be something that would have to be separated, say, from brush and that type of stuff, or grass, or?
To do it right, there needs to be separate piles, because there's an actual carbon to nitrogen ratio that you have to pay attention to. So you take a couple of bucket loads of food scrap, 3 bucket loads of cardboard, and you have to, there's a calculation that you do to actually make sure that you're not getting less of one component over another, so.
Okay, but it's a possibility.
Oh, definitely,
Okay,
yeah,
thanks.
yeah, we could make it work. We have the area to do it,
Great.
sure.
Shelley?
Hi, King. Thanks for all your work at the landfill. It sounds like it's really coming along well. I need to get up there again soon. Just wondering, kind of in line with Paula's question, do we have any type of coordinated effort or pickup of compostable food waste from our restaurants in town, or food stores, or anything like that?
I believe that the dumpster site on 7th Street there's a container dedicated to food waste, isn't there?
I think it's just Juicy Lucy's.
I'm sorry?
I think it's just Juicy Lucy's. I think it's just,
And do they get it picked up by?
they get it picked up by Evergreen.
Evergreen waste, okay.
I
okay.
think so.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I've talked with Evergreen Zero Waste and told them that I'd be glad to accept that.
Okay.
and Alyssa and I have, talked off and on, but it really hasn't gone any further than just talking.
Okay, yeah,
I'm a little
because,
puzzled by it because she's taking the bulk of her material to Pickens County.
right, I think
and
they were.
She has to pay to take it
Okay.
there.
Okay, so that might be something we can look more to expanding in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. And when do you anticipate hiring the compost person? Is that, or that might be a Deborah question? I don't know.
When would we hire
Hire the dedicated employee. Is that in the budget for 2020?
You guys approved it for 2020.
Great, okay, okay.
Yeah, so it would be early on in 2020 because the crew's stretched pretty thin right now trying to keep up.
Okay, and is
That's
that big pile of compost that had been sitting there for a couple of years, is that gone now?
Andy,
The one that was just above the recycle center,
Right,
yeah, that was gone in July.
that was gone. Oh, great,
Yeah. It
great.
had been there a long time.
Yep, yep.
I actually pulled samples to test to make sure that
Yes.
it was still of nutritional value.
Okay,
I didn't want to sell it if it was just a pile of black mass,
Yeah.
but it was still a good product.
great, great.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, good to hear, thanks.
Yeah.
King, there was a letter to the editor a week ago that talked about the quality of our compost with septic and car waste, and it was really inferior apparently to Aspen. Can you speak to the quality of our compost, specific to what you might know how Aspen does it, and are we putting an inferior product out there?
Yeah, there was some misinformation in the letter to the editor. Our compost, and Matt and I have talked, and we're going to put together a detailed explanation of our composting process and the actual nutritional value of it. But our compost, before it can be sold, at the very end of the screening process, samples are pulled, they're sent to a laboratory in California, and they're broken down into all of the components that are contained. And they do germination tests. They actually analyze if there's any particles of glass, plastics, or routine trash, and ours come out very, very, very minuscule in all three of those components. Typically we get anywhere from a 98 to 100% germination. We do a cucumber seed test on all the samples, and right at 98 to 100% germination in all those tests. They test for E. coli, salmonella. We pass all those tests as not having any exceedances in those two categories. Salinity is very low, so the two contracts that I mentioned earlier that we sold material to for revegetation projects, all of our analyticals were analyzed by the people in charge of those revegetation projects, and they all passed with flying colors for them to be able to use our compost in those projects. So I'm working on, there's a certification that we can get that requires extended sampling periods, and if we're consistent with our analyticals, then we get a U.S. Composting Council certification, and that would make us, there are some buyers that only buy compost off of those certified lists, and if we can get onto that list, well, that would be another good marketing tool for us too. So far, our analyticals have been good, but I still need to submit some more to get that final certification.
Cool. Thank
Can
you.
you ask about the Pittman County?
Yeah.
Can you speak to what Jonathan asked about are there differences between what we do with our compost and what they're doing up at Pitkin County?
Oh, the process?
Yeah, or what we put in it?
Yes, there is. There's all different processes that you can use to make compost. Basically, anything that was once alive can be composted. And compost requires liquid in order to generate the heat, to make the microbes do their job, to digest the certain constituents that you put in there. And there's some materials that you can put in compost that heat the piles up faster and speed up the process. One of the components that is most effective are biosolids, which are human waste. Pitkin County doesn't advertise the introduction of biosolids into their compost as much as they do food scraps. So there is human waste in Pitkin County compost. In our compost, we use a high volume of septage. We get a little bit of biosolids, we get a large amount of manure, stall cleanings, grass clippings, leaves. But the thing that really enhances our compost operation that Pitkin County doesn't do is saturating our material with the septage and the waste grease from restaurants that we take in.
Okay.
So that's the primary difference, is that liquid. Pitkin County saturates their pile with water, and we use septage and waste grease.
Okay.
But it still works.
Thanks. Yep. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Yes,
Can I take a second to embarrass King a little bit more?
please.
Okay, excellent, thank you. We took over the landfill April 1st? May 1st,
No, it was
April.
April about 25th.
Okay,
Yeah, it was supposed to be March 1st, but we did it a week earlier.
okay. At that time, the landfill we were running in the red, almost $1 million a year. It was hard. It was a hard decision for city council to make. We couldn't, well, King was telling me we could do it, no problem. But we were sitting there going, it could be, it will be hard. But King made it look like it would be no problem. Not only are we not losing money, made $200,000 as of September 30th.
Yeah.
And we could not be prouder of them, and I know you guys are too, so thank you very much.
The large part of the success really is with the crew. We've got an excellent bunch of guys and girls working at the landfill.
Great.
And I've expressed several times my appreciation for their efforts. They're a hard-working bunch of people, and we're very fortunate to have them.
They're great people, too. I go up there a lot. They're always very friendly, and they're good people to work with.
Yeah, and I would say, just to quibble with Deborah a little bit, is that she says a hard decision, but it wasn't. We were we were 7-0, and a large part of it was because we had a lot of faith in you and Matt and your crew, and that made it a 7-0 vote, and we didn't really have a lot of conversation about it because we really thought that you guys would be capable of doing it, and apparently you are.
And it's probably true that some of the frustration you had having to deal with an on-site contractor is probably off your back now too, so you can actually do your job, so.
Enjoy going to work.
That's awesome. It's
That's a
great to
good
hear.
thing.
Thanks, King.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're taking a community card. I know Jennifer's
I think this is just an update.
There's no.
There's no community or there's no,
Right,
No vote, just an update.
just an update.
It would have naturally been a work session, but there was not enough time in the work session schedule, so we also figured it was good for the public to know.
Can we vote on Charlie picking up my leaves then? All in favor, aye.
Aye. Item number 8, 3 Mile Confluence Comprehensive Planning and Design Project Update.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Trent Hyatt with Community Development here to give you a little update on a project that we've been working on. Would you mind switching to the guest computer, please? Let's see if this works for us. There we go. Wanted to update you guys on a project that we've been working on, kind of as a coordination between the Community Development Department as well as Parks and Rec. And that is the 3 Mile Confluence Comprehensive Planning and Design Project. And to give you a little bit of background on this, it came from some emergency erosion improvements that were made to the 3 Mile Confluence area back in October of 2018. You can see a couple pictures there on the right, one from before and one from after those erosion improvements. But what it did was made us realize that this high-use area that sees activity from beachgoers, from rafters, from anglers, and just folks that are enjoying the spot as they're traveling down the Atkinson Trail, they were causing a lot of disturbances there and kind of overusing the resource. And we saw the need for a plan to accommodate that use, and we applied for and received a $25,000 grant from Pickens County Healthy Rivers to develop that plan to accommodate the use and to restore native vegetation at this site, about that same time as the erosion improvements that were being made. Thereafter, in February of 2019, this year, we prepared, in conjunction with our engineering department, a request for proposals. And we put together a team of staff members and commission representatives to evaluate proposals. And we did receive 4 proposals ranging in dollar amount from $72,000 up to $250,000. For 6 total tasks. We'd never expected to achieve or accomplish all of those tasks, but some of those we wanted to understand in the future, if we had funds to finish out the project, what they would cost. And that would be like engineering services during construction and final construction documents, stamped and ready to go. We ended up going with Wrightwater Engineers for their bid of $124,000, which was the second highest bid that we received. And leading that team is Scott Schreiber, who is not only a resident of the city, but also a member of the city's River Commission, and had a really good understanding of the work that we needed to complete or to review at the site. After receiving the bids, knowing that we didn't have enough money, we kind of went back to the well with Pickens County Healthy Rivers and asked them for additional funds based on, a specific RFP that we knew the exact cost of the project. And after receiving an additional $30,000 from them, since they were so impressed with our project, we began work on tasks 1 through 3 in the amount of $37,000. And that included scoping for the project, multiple public outreach meetings, and concept designs. So to date, we've completed 1 public outreach, and that was a on-site meeting on a Saturday back in July. We were hoping to find folks at the site as they were using it to understand what were their needs, what did they want to see for the future. And from the survey that we completed, we got consensus that there are a few things. One important piece is that, no one wanted to see major improvements at this site, a ton of work done. They just wanted to protect what is existing there and what they saw kind of getting overused. They did want to include some revegetation of the site and wanted to manage weeds moving forward. They wanted limited options for improvements, but one thing was clear with everyone, and that was to drain the swamp that exists out there, which kind of is a previous improvement made with the Atkinson Trail that didn't really work out exactly as intended, and is an ongoing nuisance for the city in terms of mosquitoes and noxious smells, but that was clear that we should fix that. So to discuss a little bit about the future work that's proposed, we have a meeting coming up on December 2nd where we're going to go back to the same folks that attended our previous meeting. I don't know if you live in the area, you may have received a postcard with an update of that. But it's going to be at Cypress Elementary School. The weather's not as pleasant as it was in July for us to hold it at the site. But we're going to discuss some of the limited improvement options with the public. and help them kind of understand the costs that are associated with that. You can see here, this is some of the materials that we've sent out and included on the project website, a survey that helps folks say, okay, base improvements plan, these are the things that we heard from you that need to be done. One of those being in blue, kind of that long blue stretch, the swamp. It's making that into something different, something that functions and drains appropriately. But something we're really important about is also the ability for folks to choose your own design, and not only choose your improvements, but to understand what the costs of those improvements are. You know, anyone could paint a pretty picture, but we can't always pay for it, and we want folks to understand, well, if you want a certain level of amenities here, these are the costs associated therewith. So what's left? The only thing we still want to achieve on this project is task 4, and that's 90% construction document design and cost estimates. Again, now that we better understand from the public what they want to see, it kind of helps give us a little bit of guidance as what the future design is going to entail. And that allowed us to reduce the cost, the previous estimate of that cost, from $45,000 down to $33,000. And the reason why we want these construction documents and cost estimates is so that once we're through with this portion of the project, we can seriously seek out grant funding for future implementation. You know, maybe even when budgets are less constrained, we can come back to City Council to discuss the cost of those improvements. Certainly not anything we expect for next year, but you know, maybe in future years' budgets when we're a little bit less constrained. So really, the only thing we're asking of you tonight is something kind of that we just missed in the previous kind of go after the money and when the opportunity was available, and that's just permission to spend the $55,000 that we've received. We already have a commitment for the remaining $15,000 through the city manager's discretionary funds to finish the project, and we would just like to offer you the ability to ask us any questions if you have any tonight, and just appreciate your time. Also, I think Scott's here with our consultant team if you have any questions.
But you don't need any direction tonight.
No, sir.
Thank you, Devin.
All right, questions, Paula?
I got kind of, Trent, hi.
Hey.
I kind of got into this, I was trying to figure out the money part of all of this, and we spent $37,000, and now we're looking at spending another $55,000.
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, if you could
We
just
have not,
run that.
we have not spent the total of $37,000. That is just what we are currently under contract for. So the remainder of the project is actually going to be $33,000 for the 90% construction design.
And the $37,000
So the total-
agreement that was in the packet was?
That's an agreement for contractual services that we have with Wrightwater, but we haven't spent all of those funds. The total project budget is the 55 plus the 15,
Okay,
and which we're not requesting any additional funds for.
all right, I was kind of like,
Yeah,
here's
there's
37, here's 55, it's like I was.
a lot
trying to figure out
bouncing
what we were
around
doing.
there.
Yeah. And there was just, and this may not even be this might be a moot point, but in reading through that packet, there was a lot of discussion about extended trails to other areas. Is that completely off the table now? Is that?
Well, we didn't do really any work on task 3, and that was a trail concepts and potential cost estimates. You know, if the budget allows, we would at least like to have some ideas out there for future trail improvements, but it was never intended that we would get past anything, past conceptual ideas on
Okay.
on that piece.
Okay, great. And the River Commission has been part of all this discussion?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
As well as the Parks and Rec Board.
Okay.
Both Brian and Jen have kind of been, involved as well.
Charlie? It's flashing.
Huh?
It's flashing.
Oh, mine turned off. Go ahead.
So you don't have any questions?
Yeah. I thought you said Shelley.
No, Charlie.
I said Charlie.
Oh,
Sorry.
let me turn my hearing aids up
Sounded a
again.
lot like Shelley when you said Charlie.
See, the two deaf people down here thought you said Shelley.
Charlie?
You know what? I've been trying to be informal. Counselor Willman.
There we go.
I'm going back
Thank
to
you. I
this.
understand it. Trent, first of all, thank you for that. I went through the materials, I thought it was really well done, and good work with Wright Water Engineering. The question I had, or comment, maybe kind of both, is those little stickers at the meeting in Soper, so people going to take those cost stickers and put them on what they like? Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, at the actual meeting, you will have the ability to take laser cut stickers and apply them to a larger base improvement plan. Online, you'll kind of just have the option to select those individual improvements. One of the other things that I failed to mention that we really are hopeful for when we're working with Mr. Lindenberg at the elementary school is the possibility of sending these materials home with the fifth graders so that they can work on this at home, show their parents, get them involved in the project.
Yeah. But they actually have the cost on them for like a bench or a tree group and things like that.
Yep.
That's my comment. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, you're only seeing kind of just options for Area 1. There's 8 different options where you have the ability to pick, various improvements.
Right. So often we get into this and, people say, why does it cost so much? Just gives them a really good idea. So I like that concept. So thank you.
Counselor Kopp.
Keep Shelley and Charlie out.
Thanks, Trent. And I really appreciate the way this is moving forward with the public input, that it's not, we're not growing it into more than what the community wants and what the users want, because it sounds like they want to keep it fairly rustic and unimproved and natural, but it's a site that's well used, so I think that's great. Are we still looking at any type of toilet facilities there?
Well, from the survey results that we got, there wasn't really a desire to have, improved restrooms.
Okay.
Folks, I think, were fine with the portalette or
With the
porta-john
portalette, right.
scenario. The only recommendation that we
screening?
really heard, exactly, screening.
Okay, great. So we could do something like that, or even upgrade it to a composting toilet or something like that, but we don't have to bring.
Yeah, it's an
plumbing.
extra $50,000 though.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm
I
just
can't
kidding.
even
I'm not
imagine
sure.
what bringing plumbing down there would cost, so.
Yeah.
I appreciate that and the consideration for costs and listening to the neighborhood, so thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Was this just an update, or are we looking for any?
Well, the only thing we would like is just that you could officially appropriate the grant funds.
Oh, right.
That we have received.
Do you need a motion for that,
Yeah.
Mr.
Public comment?
Hanley?
Yes, please.
Do we need to take public comment then if we're going to be taking a vote?
It's up to you, Mr. Mayor.
Does anybody have any concerns of whether we should spend a grant that we already got? Okay, hearing none, when I lead the witness like that.
Objection?
Overruled. This is fun, I like this banter.
Exception?
Yeah, this is good stuff.
Rule it on his own motion.
Approach the bench? I don't know.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, please, Shelley.
Okay, I would move that we approve appropriation of the $15,000 from the city and the $55,000 from the Pitkin County Healthy Rivers grants. Thank you very much to Pitkin County for that.
Thank you, exactly.
And that we approve that spending for 2019.
I'd second that.
It's been moved by Shelley, seconded by Rick, I'm sorry, Counselor Kopp and Counselor Voorhees. Let's just do a voice vote. All in favor?
I already voted on this thing.
Just,
Oh,
some of those funds will roll over into 2020 as well.
I didn't vote.
Okay.
Sorry. Just
We
want to
can-
make sure that it's,
Take that specifics out.
okay. Sorry. Just want to be clear.
Can we thank Pitkin County though as well officially for that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
We have and we will continue to do so.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trent.
Thank
Good
you.
work.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Scott.
great.
Were we going to move that one thing up?
No. Report from city administration. City manager.
Bless you.
Okay, the only thing I have is there's going to be overnight work on the 27th Street Bridge tonight.
Kelsa Priest.
The what?
What a surprise.
Yes.
What direction can't I go?
I don't believe, it's not going to be totally closed. There's going to, you can go either way. It's just there's going to be overnight work, so there will be noise.
do we care about
She's telling us she won't get any sleep tonight.
Generally speaking, your residents, or you might get calls from some of your residents, so you should know.
They better not call me late at night.
And Jen signed the noise ordinance, so.
It's nice that one of our administration is one of those residents and gets to share that with our other residents.
I agree. I have felt very much part of the bridge process,
Yeah.
every step of the way.
We're very sorry for that, but hopefully it will be over soon.
It's a very beautiful bridge.
It is.
City Attorney.
City attorney.
I don't think I have anything tonight.
Can we talk about social media?
No,
Yeah, let's do that.
no, we need to continue that.
Sorry, it's not on the agenda. I'm not inclined to add it to it at this point in time. We didn't notice it properly.
I was going to say what's interesting about that is Jonathan's been doing some training. By the time he's done with that, the social media policy is going to look very different, as in none of you will have it.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, correspondence, incoming, outgoing. We have a letter here to us from the Colorado Air Quality.
No, that we are,
I'm
it's
sorry.
a draft of a
Go
letter
for it.
we want to write to the Colorado Air Quality Control Commission in support of the strong statewide regulations to address methane and VOC emissions from the oil and gas industry. And I am hoping that we can sign this and move it forward. I don't know if we want to.
Shelley, can you explain a little bit? I tried to read through it, and I know you do more of this. I don't understand everything entirely.
It might be great to have, if we can have Alan come up and explain a little bit, would that be okay?
I think that's the mayor's call.
Okay.
I would say that Jonathan and I had a brief bit of a conversation. While I appreciate the city generally is a strong supporter of all kinds of environmental regulations, we also are in the middle of a very important partnership across the street. We got this letter in the last 48 hours. It may be that the better approach at this time is not to send the letter, but if individual council members wanted to go down and testify, I think that would be great. I don't know that council has really had an opportunity to think about the ramifications of jumping on a bandwagon at this late hour, like I said, in the context of everything else we have going on. That would be my only concern, and Shelley, you and I talked briefly today, and I hadn't really wrapped my head around what those risks were, and Deborah chased those down, and they're relatively high. So I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, and I would have concerns about that too. I also feel strongly that we are speaking out and fighting a proposal that could have devastating environmental impacts to our city. So I feel that along those lines, it's important to walk the talk, so we say. And you know, emissions into air, whether it's in Glenwood Springs or Garfield County or the whole state of Colorado, it really doesn't have any boundaries. So it affects our environment, it affects our future. So I think that it's definitely worth considering. If council chooses not to send the letter at this time, I would certainly hope that I'd be able to go testify. I think there are hearings in Rifle on December 10th, I believe. That's the
Is there a
date.
deadline by which a letter should be received?
November 26th, the date on the letter
That
needs
is
to.
the deadline. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
That's the
Yeah, we
deadline.
were a little under the gun. I think it came in yesterday, the proposed letter. Shelley did some work on it today, which I really appreciate.
Right.
Like I said, if I had to make a recommendation on the political side, it would be that if individual council members wanted to comment on December 10th, that would probably be the safer thing to do.
Yeah, and you certainly don't want to, you know, if we take a stand on the environmental regulations, it's not meant to be antagonizing to any other of our neighboring government entities or our county government, but it's just recognizing that we support strong regulation throughout the state, so.
Councilor Hershey.
So we haven't really had I feel like enough time, I mean, this concerns me that we're raising this issue, Shelley, with the problems with across the street at a time when we really need their support, is I think what the city attorney is saying. I mean, of course I support, I mean, no one's against this. My concern is that we haven't had enough time to discuss it with them.
Right, and we also are supportive of them in their litigation that's ongoing.
And
so-
they've been very supportive of us.
Right.
Charlie, Counselor Willman.
Yeah, I asked the question because I read this last night, and didn't we have two versions in the packet? I remember that,
Yes.
right? Yeah, and I tried to read both.
Yeah, there's the one that got handed out tonight, as
Yeah.
well as the one that I think got emailed out yesterday.
And I tried to read through them and thought I'd understand, and I really, really want to make sure we improve the environment, not make that much difference in my lifetime, but certainly in my kids and my grandkids. But I'm having trouble voting for this because I'm not sure exactly what I'm voting for. And I certainly encourage, I know you understand this better, and I think you'd be a great spokesman to go and talk at the meeting in Rifle, but that's my concern. I don't want to say I'm against it by voting no, but on the other hand, I'm concerned because I don't know if I understand
Exactly
what I'm
okay.
voting for.
Counselor Stepp.
This might be a Carl question or a Shelley question, but can we send this letter in on our own as individual citizens without any problem?
Absolutely. If you want to provide comments as an individual and make sure that that's clear, that that's what you're doing and not on behalf of the city, I think that's kind of what I was saying, is if you want to comment either in a letter form, if you want to testify on the 10th, I think that's great because that reflects your individual beliefs, but not, we haven't taken a position as a city.
Right. But can we reference that we are Glenwood Springs City Council?
Yeah, you can say that you're a city councilor, voicing your personal concerns and not speaking on behalf of the city. I think if you include that language in the letter, I think it's fine.
And the same as if we go and testify on this?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to recognize the position that you hold, but that you're not speaking on behalf of the city council or the city of Glenwood Springs.
Right.
And that's December 10th in Rifle? Is that what you said?
Yes. Is that right, Alan?
Yes, that's correct.
Counselor Voorhees.
Thank you. I would just remind council that I sent out via Deborah, legally, sort of a long meta-analysis of a physicians group in Utah that studied air quality.
A month ago.
And despite the EPA's pronouncements of what a safe level is, any level of air pollution is detrimental to citizen health. And so whether we believe that level or don't believe it, anything that is done to increase air pollution has an extremely negative effect on community health and individuals within that community. So if you're going to write a letter, I guess you might, think that somebody gave you a little grist for the mill there too. So that is an individual letter.
Okay, so it sounds like the consensus.
Yeah, I think I would like to propose that as a body, we look at air quality in a macro way. Everything from idling to wood-burning stoves, and I think there's a lot of things we can do at a municipal level that we can address and should have a conversation about.
I agree.
And to have something where we have, a couple days, well, not even a couple days, because I stopped looking at my email yesterday at noon. So I have not even read it at all. So I'm probably uninformed to be able to make a comment. But it sounds like the majority of council is suggesting that if you would like to support it on your own volition and make comments at the December 10th rifle meeting, that is appropriate action, but it doesn't seem like there's general consensus that we endorse it as a city at this time. Is that correct?
Yeah, and like I said, I certainly want to vote against it because I think the concept is good, so.
Okay.
And can I ask Carl a question?
Yes.
And you don't have a problem with using Mr. Harvey's letter as a template or anything?
No, I don't. As long as you guys are commenting on your own.
But I've asked you this question before. If I write Governor, what's his name? Polis a letter, and I go, I'm a city council person, but I do not speak for the city of Glenwood Springs.
Yeah,
The drill.
Polis, that's it.
All right, any other correspondence?
Okay.
All right. If
Shelley,
not, we
thank you for
will,
taking a shot at trying to clean it up, because I glanced through it, it made more sense than it did the first time I read it, so. appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay.
thank you, everybody. We'll now go into executive session. Someone needs to read us in. Tony,
I've been practicing.
go
I've never
fast.
done it.
Do you want to do it? Go ahead.
This is good.
Thanks, everybody.
Executive session to conduct a conference with the city manager and the city attorney for the purposes of discussing the city's purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real property, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators, and to conduct a conference with the city attorney to receive legal advice in accordance, with Colorado Revised Statutes 246402(4)A and B and E related to the confluence. Correct, Mr. City Attorney person?
Yes.
Sorry.
I need a second, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, it's been motioned by Tony, seconded by Shelley. It is November 21st, 2019. The time is 7:15. Carl, it's 7:15.